What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jared Barnes Show. I am your host, Jared Barnes, and today it is a fun episode, a special episode. Hope you guys enjoyed a great Christmas holiday with your family and stuff like that, and was able to celebrate and have a good time and stayed safe. I enjoyed my Christmas, and I'm hoping that everyone listening enjoyed theirs as well. Today on the show, we are going to talk about J.J. Watt announcing his unexpected retirement after the season. What a career he's had. The expected firing of Nathaniel Hackett, which happened earlier than I think people thought it would. They fired him before the end of the season. And then after that, we'll talk about the NFL playoff picture. I have an interview with my dad where we talk about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then after that, we'll hit golf with Micah, who is here today. Micah, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just happy that I'm here home for Christmas break and, excited to do this episode with you.
Yeah, man, it's been nice. It's the first episode we've done. Any of us on the show have done. What's the word I'm looking for here, Micah? Not in person. Not in person.
Yeah.
That's not what I was really looking for, but that's what we'll go with. Got the ticker today, and let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. First things first, this morning, news broke that J.J. Watt has officially announced his retirement. It came out of nowhere. He had a really good game Sunday versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a guy that he's just been a class act dude his entire career in the NFL. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, and in 2017 he won one of the most prestigious awards in the NFL, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. He won that in 2017 due to raising $41 million in relief efforts for the city of Houston after Hurricane Harvey absolutely devastated the city. That was a special year in the city of Houston. I think he actually had a season-ending injury that year as well, and he didn't even get to really play a whole lot, but he was still able to help raise a lot of money for the city that he was playing in, which was just awesome to see the kind of outpour and help that city received. And when that happened, Watt in his career has 111.5 sacks so far, and he's the all-time sack leader for the Houston Texans, where he has 101 exact sacks. And he's also the all-time leading forced fumble leader for the Houston Texans. He has 25 forced fumbles at the Texans and 27 in his career. The worst part about Watt's career is that he never won a Super Bowl. He was never on a talented enough team to really get there. He was on teams with some guys like Deshaun Watson early on in Houston when he was kind of in his prime, before Deshaun, did what he did and ended up in Cleveland and was out of the league for a year. Turned out to be, Bill Cosby kind of, but and it's a shame that Watt never won a Super Bowl. He went to Arizona thinking this is a team that's built for it. And then what he didn't realize he was signing up for was a complete disaster in Cliff Kingsbury, a complete disaster of an organization with the Cardinals. That is an organization that I think he just was looking at the future right now. And I don't know if you feel this way, Micah, but I think he's looking at the future of the Arizona Cardinals and going, there's not a chance we win here for at least another 5 years. This team's about to go into rebuilding. I don't know. How do you feel about the Cardinals, and how do you feel about J.J. Watt's retirement?
It's sad to see him go. It really is. He's such a talented player. But, yeah, I don't see the Cardinals doing anything. Kyler Murray's not be able – Kyler Murray can't really do much right now, and he's not really, putting that effort forth to win a championship. You don't see that very often. He's a young guy. He'll be missed. It's sad. But yeah, I think he's looking at it the same way you're thinking of it. And he's like, I just don't see my career going much farther. So that's sad.
Yeah, I know. I think Arizona's on the cusp of firing Cliff Kingsbury at this point with the way the season has gone. I mean, Kyler ACL injury, I think 2 weeks ago, just a non-contact, terrible ACL injury. That team is in a complete dumpster fire and disaster right now. They were supposed to be winning and competing, and they're the worst team in their division by far. Yeah. They're projected to have I think at this point, a top 5 draft pick. This was a team that was supposed to be competing for that champion, division title, and supposed to be dethroning San Francisco this year and dethroning the Rams and taking out Seattle. And they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, they're not as bad as the Indianapolis Colts. They're not as bad as the I would almost say they're not as bad as Houston, but I think Houston at this point would, in a one-on-one matchup, Houston would beat them in a game. Chicago would beat them. They might be one of the worst. They might be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, and I don't blame JJ one bit for not wanting to stick around.
No.
A guy that didn't get the choice on whether he could stick around with his team or not, though, was Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
What a run he had at Denver. I mean, you take a look at everything that went on at Denver. From week 1, they play Seattle. They had traded for Russell Wilson over the offseason. And week 1, it's almost like a storybook written. They play Russell Wilson's former team. And Denver's supposed to be this amazing team that, like, they were supposed to land an all-pro quarterback. They were supposed to land, and that's all they needed to win a Super Bowl was to land an all-pro quarterback because they had all the pieces in place. They had Patrick Surtain on the defense. They had Bradley Chubb on the defense before they traded him away. They had a stacked defense. They had weapons on the outside and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. They had a really good running back. And then week 1, they lose to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that was supposed to be one of the worst in the league this year, but at this point is still competing for a playoff spot with Russell Wilson's former backup, Geno Smith. And in week 1, they lose. By week 2 and week 3, the Denver fans are counting down the play clock to make sure that Russell Wilson and the offense isn't getting a delay of game on every single play.
Yeah.
By week 4, they hire a game clock manager just to handle the situation for Hackett, where he doesn't have to worry about taking timeouts and handling the play. Like, he's still handling the play calling and stuff like that, but as a head coach, it's not great. How many of these issues on that Broncos team stem from his lack of being prepared as a head coach, and maybe some of the issues that are with Russell Wilson, where maybe he has too large of a team in team 3 that is, deciding how much movement Russell Wilson can do via practice, how many team 3 supposedly has it down to how many steps Russell Wilson needs to take in a day to be prepared for a game on Sunday.
Wow.
That's how ridiculous team 3 is.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson supposedly has his own office inside the Denver Broncos building, just like some of the coaches have their own offices. Like, there's probably assistant coaches that don't have their own offices in the building, that probably just sleep on the couch and, like, break down film. And Russell Wilson's got his own office. It wasn't until this weekend that Russell Wilson had as many touchdown passes as he has bathrooms in his mansion in Denver. This weekend, Russell Wilson hit 12 touchdown passes on the season. Russell Wilson has 12 bathrooms in his mansion. It took until Nathaniel Hackett gets fired for that to happen. It took Russell Wilson getting roasted on the Nickelodeon broadcast by Patrick Starr for Nathaniel Hackett to get fired. Denver fans aren't happy with Nathaniel Hackett. I know quite a few Denver fans that I've talked to throughout the season that wanted him fired after week 3. They said this is his fault. And with the way that Russell Wilson's, some of his former teammates from Seattle have bashed him over this offseason, where Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman, we talked about this way earlier in the season, but at one point early in the season, Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman were talking on a podcast about how they had to reach out to Russell Wilson's manager just to speak to him when they're on the same team as him. This wasn't during the offseason. This was during the season. They had to reach out to his manager to speak to him. I read on Twitter, which I thought was a hilarious tweet, and the reaction to the Nathaniel Hackett firing, where some people were saying it's almost like Russell Wilson is playing like it's almost like he's a method actor playing a quarterback in the NFL, and he's taken it one step too far. It's a hilarious thought when you really think about just how ridiculous of a person Russell Wilson is. And I've never liked Russell Wilson, to be fair, which is why I put a lot of the blame for the way the Broncos have gone this season. I mean, the meltdown on the sidelines where the defensive lineman got up in Russell Wilson's face 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then the meltdown this weekend on the sideline where Brett Rippon gets in an offensive lineman's face and says you need to pick up Russ after he gets sacked, because they didn't want to pick him up like after he got sacked. And it was whatever. They got into a fight. They said they made up, but after the game, Randy Gregory, a defensive end, fought an offensive lineman and got suspended for a full game.
Wow.
Just middle of the field, walked out and fought an offensive lineman. Just like old school type guy to do that kind of thing. Love that there's still guys in the NFL that They do not care. The second the game's over, they will handle business still. And the Broncos are an absolute mess.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I saw a lot of people giving Hackett a lot of credit for what kind of an offensive genius that he is. But this offense was not very genius. They averaged around 14 to 17 points a game, one of the worst in the league this year. But a lot of people were giving Hackett a lot of credit for helping Rodgers get 2 MVPs. But I think the skill that Rodgers has is kind of the reason he won MVP, not because of Hackett's play calling when he was in Green Bay as the offensive coordinator. But Hackett's going to be fine, even though he went 4-11, and even though he was the 5th coach in NFL history to be fired before the end of his first season. I think he's going to be okay. He's probably going to be able to go back to the Packers and get a job as an offensive assistant and help out that poor Packers offense that has been this year, even if the Packers make the playoffs at this point. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Hackett. Do you have any thoughts on Hackett being fired?
I mean, it's good. Whenever the Broncos fans saw it, they were happy. Like, they were ecstatic. They were ready for him to get out of there. Time management was just terrible. I mean, time after time, you saw it again. And man, Russell Wilson's just becoming one of those, QBs that's just kind of overrated. You're hitting it right on the nail with this one. So I don't have much to say. You kind of said it all.
No, I mean, you can kind of cut up a highlight clip of the poor time management and all the terrible Russell Wilson plays this year, and it would literally be one of the funniest clips of all time. I mean, yeah. Just if you go back to week 1 and you look at Peyton Manning, where he said on Monday Night Football, on his Eli and Peyton, where they watch Monday Night Football and kind of talk over it, whatever. Shannon Sharpe was on there in the last minute. I think Peyton said, call a timeout 800 times in that last minute. And it took them till like 20 seconds to finally call a timeout. It was like 104. And Peyton's like, all right, we should take a timeout here. And then after about 77 times, they finally took a timeout with 20 seconds to go. That was poor on him, but again, there was some other issues. I mean, Russell Wilson's play was absolutely awful. I mean, I've never seen a team so frustrated with a quarterback that's currently on their roster. Like, who's the starter? Who's getting paid $250,000 over this contract? He's getting paid almost $250,000 over this rest of the contract. And that leads me to my next question. What's next for the Denver Broncos? Nothing good is coming for the Denver Broncos over the future, I think. I don't know if there's a coach that can come in and fix Russell Wilson. I don't know if there's a coach that can come in and deal with Team 3. Yeah. Like, Hackett will never speak on it, probably because Hackett will not be allowed. Yeah. But hopefully in 10 or 15 years, when Nathaniel Hackett's done with football probably and retired and maybe in the media, he talks about his experience with Russell Wilson in Denver in the first year in Denver. And you just hear how nobody would have succeeded in that situation. Yeah. I mean, it's just not good. I don't think they're going to be able to sell a decent new head coach on coming there. No. There's so many other better options. I mean, they don't have they have no draft capital because all of that draft capital was traded to get Russell Wilson. Yep. So to fix the issues on the offensive line, they're going to have to do it through free agency and possibly hire just a really, really, really good offensive line coach. And I just don't know. I don't know how you can fix the problems without getting rid of Russell Wilson, but nobody's going to take on that Russell Wilson contract.
Yeah. Since they fired him, who'd they bring in to finish out the season?
The guy. So their interim head coach is actually the guy they hired to be their game clock manager in week 4. They hired, I cannot remember his name offhand, but when they hired him, he was just supposed to be the game clock manager. He's been around the league. Jerry Rossberg is the interim head coach. Okay. He's an old man. He's been around. He's never been a head coach before, so good for him. But I'm sure he's not I'm sure he's excited, but this isn't the kind of team that I think anybody would want to take over, even though it is for 2 weeks and you get to, put your name in the hat for maybe a head coaching job if you do well. But yeah, it can be. I think at this point, Nathaniel Hackett can be talked about as, you can put him up there as one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. Yeah. Like, he deserves to be in that category. I don't think anybody takes the number 1 spot over Urban Meyer. That guy was disastrous in Jacksonville. He had the culture so bad. All it took was Doug Peterson walking in and saying, like, when he walked in, Doug Peterson said none of the players trusted coaches. It's like
No.
the culture there was so bad. If you actually weren't a robot and had a heartbeat, you changed the culture in Jacksonville just by walking in the building. And that's all Doug Peterson had to do, was walk in with an actual heartbeat and be a human being to change the culture. I don't know how bad the culture got in Denver. I don't think it reached to that level, but it's not good in Denver at all. And they've been eliminated from the playoffs for a very long time. The majority of the season, pretty much, it was very obvious that they weren't going to make the playoffs. But there are some teams that are in position to be in the playoffs right now. The AFC is pretty much locked up.
Yeah.
The AFC West was supposed to be one of the best divisions in football. It turned out not to be the case strictly because of the Denver Broncos. But two of their teams are going to the playoffs. Chargers on Monday Night Football clinched the playoffs with their win over the Colts. Chiefs have clinched the division weeks ago. So there's only really one open spot left in the AFC due to the Chargers clinching. That is the 7 spot, because the 4 spot is a guaranteed spot to either Jacksonville or Tennessee when they win their division. So the 7 spot's wide open for either of these 4 teams in the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots, or the Steelers. Those are the only 4 AFC teams really left alive with a shot. Baltimore clinched this weekend with a win over Atlanta, so that locked up the 6th spot. So with that being said, the standings as it is right now in the AFC is 1, Kansas City. And if Kansas City doesn't lose a game from here on out, Kansas City will end up with the first overall seed and a first-round bye. But if they lose a game, they will drop to the 3rd seed. That's how quickly that could change for them, because if Cincinnati beats Buffalo this upcoming Monday night, Cincinnati would then jump to the 2 seed if Kansas City doesn't lose this week. And I don't know who Kansas City plays, but let's be honest. I don't think Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid are going to lose against whoever they play this weekend. I'm not 100% sure who it is, if you could double-check that for me, but I don't think they play a hard team. And then who do they play?
I'm looking. Let's see.
Okay. And then Buffalo, they play Cincinnati, so that's a tough one. So those two can flip-flop this weekend. 4 is going to probably be Jacksonville at this point. That game is a play-in game, so this week it doesn't matter. Jacksonville could lose. Tennessee could lose. It has no bearing on the playoff race at all. Week 18 is a play-in game for both of those teams. It's a win and you're in situation. That'll probably be on Sunday Night Football. They haven't announced it yet, but it would make sense to put that game as the last game because it is of the day, because it is a win and you're in situation. That's good for ratings, I feel like. And I think putting Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson after the turnaround they've had this year on Sunday Night Football would just be a nice reward to the Jacksonville fans that never get to see a team of theirs in prime time.
Yeah, make for a good game. That's for sure.
It would definitely be a great game. But with that being said, the 7th seed, the Dolphins, who started the season off hot, have still not clinched a playoff spot. They can do that this weekend with a win. They play the Patriots. Tua is in concussion protocol, so who knows what might happen there. Now, their AFC East rivals, the Jets, if they win this weekend and the Dolphins lose, they would take that spot. And then in Week 18, it would be it would be a win and you're in situation for both those teams. But if the Patriots win out and the Jets lose any games at all, Patriots are in. Patriots only have like a 20% chance. Jets and Dolphins have a much higher chance to make it in the playoffs, but there is still a path for the Patriots to make the playoffs, and it's pretty much their own destiny. If the Patriots win out, they are in the playoffs.
Yep. And
that leaves the only team that has the lowest chance, and they need the most to happen, my Pittsburgh Steelers, who got a nice win in memory of Franco Harris this weekend on the weekend of the anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. It was sad to Franco passed last week before the Steelers Nation, and the NFL was able to celebrate his greatest accomplishment and maybe the greatest play in the history of the NFL, the Immaculate Reception. And we won. It was great to win. On the last drive, it almost was like Pickett took over the play calling because it actually made sense, and either Matt Canada was calling great plays or Pickett pretended like he couldn't hear him and called the plays himself, because we drove straight down the field and scored a touchdown to win the game. Pickett the Pickens, the Jerry Rice, Joe Montana connection that I've been screaming from the rooftops all year long. Steelers still have a shot, though. They need to win out. They need a lot of help, though. They need Dolphins to lose and Jets to lose this week. And they need the Patriots to lose to the Bills in Week 18. Bills might rest their starters. Who knows what might happen there.
I mean, let's be honest. The Dolphins might lose. Honestly.
Dolphins could lose out. Dolphins could straight up lose out if Tua's not playing because we don't know what we're going to get with Teddy Bridgewater. You're a Dolphins fan. You saw Teddy in action this year. I mean, he was very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Skylar Thompson was. Skylar Thompson for you guys was terrible.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
I mean, Skylar Thompson wasn't supposed to be good. So, and Teddy's supposed to be good. He's getting paid like $10 million a year. So,
yeah,
Teddy was inconsistent, but he's good enough to win a game. And that's, at this point, all you guys need to do is win a game.
Yep.
But with the way the season's gone so far for the Dolphins, do you feel confident that they can do that?
I think they can maybe pull it out. I don't know. They need to get their defense under control. I know the defense just kind of – I mean, it was the Bills, so the Bills were a good team, but their defense just wasn't there for that game. Playing against the Packers, I mean, it was there, but they just couldn't capitalize on anything. They were making stupid plays. So if they can really just kind of hone that in and see what Bridgewater can do, I think we have a chance, but I'm not putting all my money on it. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. And I didn't get to watch the majority of that Dolphins game. I started watching in the second half, and the first throw I saw in that game, the first play I saw in that entire game was a Aaron Rodgers throw to Big Dog Mercedes Lewis, where he like rolled left, flicked it off of his wrist, 45 yards downfield to Mercedes Lewis, who just happened to like put his arms out, and it felt like dime into a bucket, like just a perfect pass. And I was like, oh, Rodgers is about to win this game. Like I didn't even see the score at that point, and I was like, oh, Packers are about to beat the Dolphins and like help out my Steelers. I appreciate this. Like,
yeah.
And then Tua, 3 interceptions in a row. I only saw Tua's lowlights in that game. I didn't see any good things from Tua in that game, but that's because I only pretty much saw from when Tua was concussed.
Yeah.
And out. I think the Dolphins' future is extremely bright, though.
Yes,
even if they don't win and get in the playoffs this year, which I think they will get in the playoffs, their future is extremely bright. A lot of Dolphins fans, though, are saying on the internet that Mike McDaniel hitched his wagon to the wrong quarterback. That was a tweet that I read earlier this week that Mike McDaniel might have hitched his quarterback to it was like a whole pun with his name. Everybody loves doing the puns with Tua's name. I think it's ridiculous. I think Tua's a good quarterback.
Yeah. I
think part of the issue with you guys down the stretch here is at times you guys have abandoned the run.
Yeah.
Like completely just abandon the run. I mean, I know it's because you guys have weapons on the outside and feel like you can pass better than any team in the league, but
yeah. Give it to Moser and just run.
Give it to Mostert. Give it to Mostert. Give it to Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
Give those guys each 15 carries a game. Let Tua manage the game with Tyreek Hill in there. I mean, even if you don't give them 15 carries a game, give them each at least 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Split it 50-50 with the both of them because Mostert is extremely fast and Jeff Wilson has been extremely good since you've acquired him from San Francisco. I mean, he knows they both know the offense extremely well.
Yep.
And I think that's just what Miami needs at this point. I think if they do that versus the Patriots this weekend, they get a win.
Yeah. Hopefully.
With that being said, though, that's kind of the AFC side of the playoffs. We'll move on to the NFC side of the playoffs, where things are kind of wide open seeding-wise as of right now still. The Eagles now have 2 losses. They're 1 game ahead of everybody still, so if they win this weekend, they have the tiebreaker over the Vikings. They would get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC, and they would clinch the division with a win this week. I think they can do that. I'm not sure exactly who they play, but with the way Gardner played this past weekend versus a very good Dallas defense, I have no doubt in my mind that they can get the job done with Gardner this weekend. They do not need to start Jalen Hurts, like I've seen a lot of people saying. They can play Gardner Minshew the rest of the stretch of the season, and probably win out from here.
Yeah, they're playing the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt they can win that game. Saints are really unhealthy right now. Like, Miles Sanders might run for 150 yards versus the Saints. They're bad.
Yeah.
They're bad. But there's still some seeds that are open. I mean, the top wild card seed, the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs, is probably going to be the Dallas Cowboys. So after that, there's still 2 more spots open, and the Giants can clinch that playoff berth this weekend with just a win. That's all they need to do is win 1 game, and the Giants are in. And the Commanders have the highest chance of the rest of the teams to clinch a playoff spot. If they get a win, Seattle loses one of the next 2, Detroit loses one of the next 2, or Green Bay loses one of the next 2, they're in.
Wow.
So they have a pretty good shot. I would love to see Detroit in the playoffs, but they kind of ruined their chances this weekend. Luckily, they didn't just hand the division over to Tom Brady in the NFC South, because that division is still up for grabs.
Yeah.
And the Saints at this point have put themselves back in the conversation with an actual chance to win it.
Yeah.
A lot of things have to happen for the Saints to win it, but they still have a chance.
Yeah.
But I think Buccaneers and Panthers play this weekend, and whoever wins that game pretty much will win the NFC South. If the Buccaneers win it, they actually straight up clinch it, and they're in the playoffs. If the Panthers win it, they're going to have to win the next game to win it. But, again, I think the Panthers have a legit chance to knock Brady out of the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
And win this weekend. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I feel the same way. I can't see them losing. I don't know who they're playing. That's the only thing where I'm kind of iffy. I don't know who they're playing. So, I mean, I don't see them losing, but then again, I don't know who they're playing. So,
I think it's this weekend. It is actually, I think it's the Buccaneers and the Panthers this weekend. So winner pretty much wins NFC South.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, they're going to beat the Buccaneers.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm sure the way they played versus Detroit, if they can run the ball that well again, because the Buccaneers defense has been atrocious at stopping the run. If they can run the ball, I mean, it's going to be tough to replicate what they did versus Detroit. They literally had statistically the greatest rushing day in Carolina Panthers history versus the Detroit Lions on Saturday. So I don't think they can replicate that, but if they could just do 75% of that, they're going to beat the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Score more than 20 points, and you're probably going to beat this Buccaneers team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bad,
but yeah,
they're bad, but they're not as bad as Denver has been all year. But with that being said, that's all we had for the NFL. We'll transition to our last topic here. Micah. Micah's my golf guy. There's some golf stuff going around in the world. What's going on in the golf world?
Yeah,
Micah?
So just some fun things have been happening, honestly. This is the fun part of the season. It's coming to a close. Got like a month left, and they're just kind of throwing tournaments in there. The PNC Championship happened about a week ago. It's been a while since we've done an episode, so kind of recapping a week here. But PNC Championship happened, and pretty much the championship is just where, dads and their sons play in the tournament. So it was really just a fun watch. Team Singh won the tournament with him and his son, shooting 26 under and winning of $200,000. So that's pretty crazy. Second place was a tie between John Daly and Thomas, shooting 24 under, and their winnings was a little bit less, was 68,625. But the team that everybody was, really looking at and keeping track of and really watching was Team Woods. They were really interested to see what Tiger and Charlie could do.
It's a team I was keeping my eye on the most.
Yeah, for real. And unfortunately, his son had problems with his knee. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
Yeah. Just like his dad.
It was funny. Somebody had put like an injury of Tiger and an injury of Charlie's right next to each other, and both of them falling at the same time. I was like,
there was so many. Young. There were so many of those videos where it was just like putting those two right next to each other, side by side, from different times in Tiger's life, and like Charlie at that championship, and it was like, oh, he's a copycat replica.
Exact same.
Dude, like copycat replica of Tiger Woods.
Yep, copy paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I don't know. I think he's gonna have a little bit too much pressure on him as he gets older, going into his high school years.
He's very confident though.
He's very confident.
He's got all the confidence. He does not lack that. He does not lack that.
Gets that. He has, and his swing. Charlie's swing is phenomenal.
It is.
I mean, his dad, it was funny in an interview, he was talking to his son. He's like, don't follow my swing, follow Rory's swing. He was going after, yeah, he was like, Rory's swing is symmetrical, it's balanced. He's like, you just need to follow that. So I think that's what he's doing with his son right now. And they're watching clips of Rory's swing, and he's just going, mimic this. This is what you need to do.
Rory does have a good swing, though.
He does. It's insane. He's one of the most balanced players out there. Him and Phil. So it's whack. But
if he copies Phil's swing, as long as he only copies Phil's swing and not Phil's gambling addiction, I think Charlie will be okay.
Or his dad's gambling addictions.
Well, his dad's got some other addictions as well, some demons in the closet we don't got to discuss.
Yeah, but they ended up at 8th in this tournament, so shooting 20 under, only winning about 45,000. I mean, his pain in his knee didn't help much, but if he didn't have that, I think they would have done a little bit better. He kind of carried his dad in a few holes. So I was gonna
say he kind of did have to carry his dad a little bit.
Yeah, so it was crazy. That tournament was wild. If you kept up with that at all.
How old is he again? What is he? 14? He's going into his freshman year of high school this year, right?
I don't think so. I think he's 12 or 13.
That's wild.
I don't look that up. Yeah. That is crazy.
Right now.
However old he is, he's already playing, insane.
Oh, so, he's 13. He was born in 2009. That's wild.
Man, makes me feel old.
Yeah, makes me feel very old. He's more successful than me at 13.
Yeah. That's wild. I mean, he kind of lucked out with being born in that family.
I guess so.
But that tournament was definitely fun to watch. And another sad thing that kind of happened was, you remember the matches tournaments that always came around, and Tiger versus Phil and Tom Brady, all those. Yeah, well, they emailed Phil Mickelson, told them you're not allowed to play in this anymore.
What?
Yeah, so he can't play in any more of the matches because he switched from the PGA to the LIV, and the matches are associated with the PGA. They don't want anything to do with that.
Wow. Okay, TNT, way to ruin something good you had going. Phil was like the best part of that. Getting to listen to Phil like break down golf, because he's better at it than almost everybody else at breaking down golf.
Yep.
Was awesome. And losing that on The Match, when they start doing those again, I'll probably never watch another one at this point. Don't care.
No, and he was in every single one of them. So for them to just take it out, I mean, they're losing money on that. That's their loss, not his. So yeah, it's really interesting to see who they pull in for the next match. I'm not sure when that is. I'll have to look that up, but it's gonna be interesting. So
there was one like literally a few weeks ago, and I didn't know about it until I heard about it like a whole week later, and I was like, oh, this happened? They didn't advertise for it at all.
No, yeah, I didn't even watch that. So which is crazy because I keep up with golf a lot. Like I try to purposely get on and look at that. So
yeah, no, they didn't advertise for it whatsoever.
No, not at all. So that was insane. That was some crazy news. But as they take, one step back, Augusta National takes one step forward. They are allowing the LIV players to participate this year. That was, a huge debate that was going back and forth. Like, yeah, we're more associated with the PGA, but also this is a, top 100 players get invited to this. So should we still allow that? And they finally came to an agreement saying, yeah, why not? The LIV players, they can come play if they're going to be in the top 100. Why not? So it's going to be fun. That'll be the same thing. That'll be some normalcy, I guess, for this upcoming year to see that again. But it's going to be interesting to see what PGA and LIV do in 2023. So
how much do you think it's going to like the rivalry between the PGA and the LIV Tour is going to heat up in 2023? I think it's going to boil over and get real hot.
It is. Yeah, especially with if Tiger and Rory stay as as loyal as they do to the PGA right now, and with just the arguments that have just been going on crazy, it's going to get really heated. And I mean, I have a feeling they're just going to keep pulling players over to LIV because, I mean, money. They
Yeah.
have the money. So
It
it's
does
going to
not
be
run
interesting.
out. It does not run out. Oil money does not run out.
Does not. No. So that'll be the only kind of normal thing is the Augusta, but we're about to see some, major changes because LIV didn't come till what, mid-year. So
I was like I was putting together some I was gonna make a year in review in sports TikTok series.
yeah.
And I'm still in the process of making that, but I was taking notes down for it. It was announced in March, and then it pretty much didn't happen until they didn't start signing players. I feel until late June or July, somewhere
Yeah, I
around
was
then.
gonna say June. Yeah,
That's when I remember it kind of becoming. It was a big story when it happened too.
Huge, and it almost as if because it was very quiet in March. Not really much. People weren't thinking.
I don't think
of
anybody
it,
took it seriously.
No, not at all. And then when they started signing the players they did, it was overnight. I mean, it just flipped. So it was a shocker. But it'll be interesting to see what PGA does. I mean, I'm still on the boat that they, work together in the future. But
I think it would be best for golf if they did.
Yeah, it would be. Big time. They would bring in so much money for that. But
yeah, you don't mess with old whites though in America. They do not like when people step in their way and start messing with the things they do.
No, and golf is a very fundamental. They look back on their, history to determine what they're going to do in the future, and yeah. So it's going to be hard to change what they do. So it'll be interesting.
With the amount of money Liv is not going to just disappear. It's always going to, at this point, it's going to be there until they decide. It's probably a 5-year thing with Liv. If they don't make any profit in the next 5 years and can't build for the future in 5 years, they'll probably disappear. But I think by then they'll be able to have possibly scared the PGA into working with them just because of the amount of money they do have.
Absolutely. And I think that the next question that is going to be asked is what sport are they going to take over next? Are they going to try to pursue another something?
They're already in F1.
Yeah.
So they've been in F1 for probably longer than anything else. I think their soccer seems like to be the next one they're getting into because they have that league over there that they signed Cristiano Ronaldo to for, almost $1 billion is what they're going to pay Cristiano Ronaldo to come over there and play. So he's going to be playing with absolutely nobody, and he's going to be playing against absolute nobodies. But it don't matter because he's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's still going to get some kind of attention. He's one of the biggest soccer stars in the world. Not the GOAT in some people's eyes, but one of the best soccer stars on the planet. So yeah, that's pretty much all we had for today. So yeah, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys. I don't know if we'll do another episode until the new year, so we'll see you guys in the new year. Peace.
Yes, sir. See ya.